What's going on, folks? And welcome on back to the Between the Boards podcast. And a lot of you probably been wondering, Nolan, where have you been? It's been so long. I know, I apologize, I'm back. I just need to take a little bit of a week break, I think it was. I'm pretty sure it's exactly maybe 7 days. Really just because for multiple reasons. One, there's not a lot of stuff going on in the league right now. And obviously it's tricky for me to sit down here each and every other day and tell you guys about what's going on and try and make every episode really entertaining when there's just really not a lot to talk about. Obviously, my last two episodes before this were a little bit longer, so I've been putting so much time and effort into all these episodes. So as of right now, until really the start of May, or really until just about playoffs are about to start, like the week until before playoffs, it's going to be slow. And obviously this isn't me saying I'm not going to be uploading as much, but I think it's maybe going to be, I've been saying like usually 4 times a week. It'd probably be definitely at least once or twice, but probably just not as much as what we're used to. But it was a good break. I was able to spend a lot of time with friends and do like some more personal stuff, right? Because I've been at home a lot grinding this stuff, but yeah, I'm very thrilled to be back. And I actually, for today's episode, I have no notes. I don't have anything. We have a couple questions that we'll talk about, but really today's episode isn't going to be too long. It's kind of just a little bit of an update, right? So, yeah, it's great to be back. I do apologize on the little break that we took, but yeah, it is great to be back on here. But I don't have an agenda for today. Again, because there's just really not a lot to talk about. But I guess we could talk a little bit about the wild card race. We could talk a little bit about what teams are hot and what teams are slowing down a little bit. So let's get into it. It's going to be a shorter podcast today, but you know what? With your boy Hallsy, we always make it entertaining. So let's get right into it and let's drop the puck.
One of the best.
Alrighty, so you know what? Even though we don't have an agenda for today, let's start off with the Leafs. We always talk about the Leafs, and we always talk about them first. So, it was a good little home span. But again, a tough loss to Nashville the other night. It was not. This game meant a lot for the Leafs, and something that we've seen all year is that we struggle against the shit teams. I don't want to call them shit, but the teams who are struggling, like that game against Utah, and we went to a shootout. We should have, or no, we beat Utah. I meant the Sharks. We should have probably won that game because the Sharks are the worst team in the NHL and we're a top 5 team in the NHL, in my opinion. Again, when we played Nashville Predators, they have the 3rd worst record in all the NHL, and it's a team that we were up 2-0 on, and then they scored 5 unanswered goals. So it's frustrating because that night as well, Florida lost and Tampa lost. So with that win, that would have put us in first place, and we would have been the number 1 seed in the Atlantic. So that was a bit of a frustrating loss. And honestly, that first period was excellent. Marner had a goal right off the draw on the faceoff. Extremely nice goal. And then John Tavares, who's been extremely hot as of lately too, scoring about his 30th goal this season. So Marner and Tavares are definitely hot right now. It's great. And we'll talk a little bit. There's 3 games I want to kind of catch up on. We won't be able to get to all of them, but it was a really strong game against the Rangers at Madison Square Garden. The Leafs pull off a win that night as well, and it came right down to the wire, and it was one of those games where the Rangers needed to win that game. But you know what? The Leafs really came through. We had a good forecheck. We were the better offensive team, and defense was really strong too. Brandon Carlo, who we just picked up at the trade deadline, has been excellent with the Leafs, but Scott Laughton, on the other hand, it's been a slow start for him, and it was really unfortunate because the other night in Nashville, he would have had his first goal or his first point with the Leafs, and it was a high stick, right? So it was a clear call. They did call it a goal on the ice. I don't know how they didn't even were able to pick up on that, but it was a high stick. But yeah, bit of a slow start for him, and the lines have been all kerfuffled. So let's go over the lines really quickly and what we're standing at right now, because it's been a bit of a mix-up as of lately. I've been trying to figure out is if Calle Jarnkrok is a healthy scratch or if he's hurt again, because the last couple of games he has been playing. So I've asked in Instagram comments, I've asked a lot of people, and I just haven't really heard any response. So it's something that I'm trying to figure out right now. But anyways, the lines right now. There was a bit of a change a week ago where they put Marner with Nylander and Tavares, and they had Domi with Nyes and Matthews, and they didn't really like it. I don't know if they ended up winning that game, but they did put it back. So again, as we've had all year, Nyes is playing with Marner and Matthews. And then on the second line, we have McMahon now. McMahon, Tavares, and Nylander, which I think is a lot better. On our third line, we have Pontus Holmberg, who I'll talk a little bit about him in a second. Holmberg, Domi, and Robertson. And on the fourth line now, we have Lawton, David Kampf, and Steven Lorentz. And then in and out was, there's Yarncrow. So they moved. Kampf was a healthy scratch for 2 games, and they put him back into the lineup. And I thought his games were good. He played his first game back was in Madison Square Garden, and he played the other night against Nashville. But I do believe, I don't know if Calle Yarncrow is the healthy scratch right now or if he's not, but he's definitely a guy that I'd 100% put in the lineup over a guy like Kampf or Holmberg. And let's stay with Holmberg for a second because it's a guy I kind of want to talk about. Holmberg is kind of like that guy for me who's he's just there. He's not doing too much. He had that one span in like 2 games. He had like 3 goals, but that was it from him. He was on the team last year. Max 7 goals a season. Maybe pick up 10 assists. But he was playing on the second line, guys, for the longest time with Nylander and Tavares, and man, I hated it. Obviously, no, I don't want to give any hate to any hockey players. They're all. If you're playing in the NHL, obviously you're a super skilled, talented player. But I'm sorry, watching Holmberg is just skate it, pass it, skate, pass. He's an all right forechecker. I'll give him that. I just don't think he's a. I think there's a. I don't. He's a guy that could play on the fourth line. 100%. Put him with Lorentz. Put him with whoever. And Kampf. I think Holmberg, Lorentz, and Kampf would be great. But there's no reason for. First of all, third line's one thing. That's a bit of a stretch. Putting him on the second line with Nylander, Tavares. Berube, what is going on here, man? There's no way that Holmberg. He's lucky he's even on one of these 4 lines, if not a healthy scratch. But on the second line, no. I'm not a fan of it. I think Holmberg needs to. Right now, he's playing on the third line. They switched McMahon and Holmberg. Thank God. But why is he even on the? He should be a fourth liner, 100% hands down. And he's just a guy that really doesn't impress me on the ice, and is really just. When you're watching a line out there with Nylander, Tavares, and Holmberg, what is Holmberg doing, really? He's not really doing much out there. You're watching Tavares and Nylander. Those are the guys that are making the plays. Holmberg is that guy in the corner who's going to do... And obviously, everyone has their own role. Everyone has a different role on their team. And obviously, Holmberg's isn't to score the goals and be the biggest playmaker goal scorer. He has his role, and it's really to be a forward checker. And yeah, it makes sense to put Holmberg with Nylander and Tavares because, Tavares is a pretty good forward checker. Nylander maybe not so much, but again, I just don't think that Holmberg is a great fit on a second or third line, right? I do think that if he's on the team, you're a fourth line guy. That's just what you're out there for. But yeah, the Leafs are on a pretty good span right now. We play the Flyers and the Sharks coming up. I believe we play the Flyers at home tomorrow, and then we hit the road. I believe we go to San Jose, which these 2 games are obviously must-win games. So Florida won last night against Pittsburgh in a shootout. So now they are 2 points ahead of us in the Atlantic. So now they're still in the number 1 seed. But Tampa lost last night. They got spanked by Vegas. Vegas has been outstanding throughout the last couple of weeks. They've been really strong, and as well with Colorado. So the Pacific has been strong lately. Dallas has been strong, and also the Edmonton Oilers. For those of you who don't know, McDavid and Draisaitl are out for a week. They're week to week. So obviously it sucks for Oilers because obviously they're trying. Right now they sit in second in the Pacific, but the Kings are right there. The Kings have been really hot as of lately as well, right? So. Obviously, they want to have that home ice advantage. And they've played the Kings for the last 4 years, I believe, in the first round in playoffs. So looks like it's going to be that again. But I think a lot of guys on the Oilers are going to need to step up their game when they don't have their two best players in the lineup. And I think obviously that's what their coaches have said. And I was able to take the time to watch a bit of the Oilers game the other night without McDavid and Draisaitl in the lineup. They're playing the Seattle Kraken. And they won that game. It was an excellent game. I thought guys like Corey Perry and Zach Hyman and Henrique all had very, very strong games. I know Evander Kane's back in the lineup as well, I believe. So we'll see what he can bring to that Oilers offense. But yeah, Oilers have been strong. Obviously, they need to pull up their pants without having McDavid and Draisaitl in the lineup. But and yeah, sorry, I'm just touching up a little bit on every single team here, looking at it. But Washington as well. Very, very hot as of lately. They were the first team to clinch a playoff spot for this season. And they were a team, honestly, I doubted them going into this season. And I also thought that going into the second half of the season, like after the Four Nations, that they weren't going to be as good. Man, did they prove me wrong. Dylan Strome, and who is their leading goal scorer this season. Has the most points with Washington. But let's talk about Ovi, just because how excellent he's been. And going into the season, we all knew okay, Ovi has a chance to make history. He's going to be the all-time goal scorer over Gretzky. He's 7 away now, 7 from breaking it, 6 from tying, and the guy's top 5 in the league in goals at 38 years old. It's unbelievable because I honestly think that, obviously, if he doesn't break it this year, which it's going to be tough, he's got 13 games. 7 goals in 13 games is extremely impressive, and it's hard to do. I do not think he's going to break it this year. I do think he's going to break it next year. But I do want to ask you guys this. So, do you think that with Ovi, do you guys think it'd be better? Or let me ask you, what would you rather? Answer this at home, watching this. Would you rather Ovi break the goal record this season, and then it's oh, congratulations, Ovi did it, good for him, he goes to the next season and just keeps on piling on a couple goals? Or does we hope that he doesn't get it this year and he's a unbelievable goal scorer that goes into the playoffs, and then we start off next season, and I believe by next season, let's say he's 1 away, 2 away, I believe from what I've heard is Pittsburgh plays Washington on the first game of the season next year. So I think it'd be pretty cool if Ovi were to break it in the first game next season. I think it'd be really good for marketing, because I think obviously all the fans would like to see. It's for an example, who's the MLB home run record? Is it? I actually don't know. For a guy who knows a lot about baseball, this is really embarrassing. It might be Barry Bonds, but again, Barry Bonds, Ken Griffey, but it's Albert Pujols who did that. It's kind of guys who are breaking the home run record. But this is just, it's really cool, and I think it's gonna be good for marketing as well. I personally hope he doesn't do it this year, and I hope he does do it next year. Obviously, it's gonna be great for marketing, and it's gonna be cool. I mean, it'd be cool if he does it against Crosby. And before we go any further, I like Crosby better than Ovechkin. But yeah, before we go any further, like we always do, make sure you subscribe to the Between the Boards podcast. Always a thrill to have you guys listening. I love all the feedback I get from all of you. It's always greatly, greatly appreciated. And before today's episode isn't gonna be too long, but what a time it is to be an overall sports fan right now. Obviously, right now we have a lot of sports going on. Thursday, MLB season is going to take place. Home opener, Jays versus the Orioles. Obviously, the Jays are my team. I'm a big Toronto sports fan. I don't really know too much about the Raptors, but staying with basketball, March Madness is on right now. I believe it's been on for last 5 days now, and I'm not a basketball guy. You're never gonna watch me at home watching basketball. The only time I ever watched basketball was when the Raptors were playing Golden State in the finals and won it that year. Obviously, that was kind of something that, even if you're not a basketball guy, you're gonna probably sit down and watch it. And basketball is like hockey, man. It's quick, it's back and forth, and it's cool. But I've been watching the March Madness. I did do a bracket, and obviously, for those of you who don't know, so basically, when there's March Madness, everyone kind of does this little bracket, and if you win the bracket, you're gonna win a shit ton of money. And so I did a bracket just for shits and gigs, and obviously, it's not gonna hit. There's now 0 remaining brackets that were perfect. So basically, If you don't know what a bracket is, it's like, okay, these two teams are playing these two, and you pick who you're going to win. And if you have a perfect bracket, then boom, like you're a millionaire and you're set for life. And there's now 0 remaining brackets. My 4 teams that I had in the Final Four are all still in, and that was Florida, Duke, University of Houston, and Auburn. So all those 4, we're down to the round of 16. So it starts at the round of 64, then the round of 32, 16, 8, 4, and then the final 2. So I do have Florida winning it all, but looking back at it, Florida did beat Connecticut yesterday. Connecticut has won March Madness the last 2 years in a row. But I'm now looking at watching Duke play. They got this kid named Cooper Flagg who's going to go top 5 in the NBA draft this year, and hopefully could be a future Raptor. But I think I got Duke winning it all this year. I mean, I picked Florida in my bracket, but man, is Duke just a strong basketball team. Anyways, but yeah, so that we have March Madness going on right now. I mean, yeah, like Thursday baseball. The Jays. So I'm the biggest Jays fan. I think I actually really care more about the Jays than I do the Leafs, even though I love the Leafs. But possibly could be going to the game on Friday. We'll see. You never know. But yeah, so I do want to ask you guys this. This is probably something that I don't know if I'll have time to do over the summer, but let me know. I don't think it'd get as many views and a lot of attention, and I don't think it's something that I really want to put too much effort into, but if you want a baseball podcast, especially about the Jays, it's something that I'd do if you're interested. Obviously, I'm more into the hockey, and I think more people would like to sit down and watch and care more about the hockey than they would the baseball. But if it's something that people are willing to listen to and actually would want me to do, I'm open to doing it. So as time goes on, we'll see. But I'd make a separate channel for that. I wouldn't be on this the Between the Boards podcast. So yeah. I'm super thrilled for baseball. Jays should have a solid team this year. Obviously, we're looking to bounce back from last year from whatever that was. It was huge disappointment. We need to re-sign Vladdy as well. Man, these baseball players just want too much money. It's ridiculous. Like, if Mitch Marner was in the MLB, this guy would be making $1 billion. It's ridiculous. But anyways, we have 2 questions of the day. Some of them I might have been asked before, but I'm going to re-answer them again. What are your thoughts? This is the first one. What are your thoughts on the Montreal Canadiens? And you've already answered this in the past, but do you think that they will make the playoffs? Now having them in a playoff spot. That's a great question. So as of right now, Montreal sits in the second wild card spot. They got Ottawa right ahead of them, and I believe they're 1 point above the second they're the team right below them, the New York Rangers. So it's going to be, you know what? Like, I don't want to say yes, like, I think they're going to make the playoffs, but I don't want to say no. Like, right before I would have said no, no chance, don't really think so. But you guys are in a playoff spot right now. How can I not sit there and say I think they're going to make it? I truly think they will. They got a lot of talent. They lost the other night against Colorado in a shootout. And what a game that was. And the Bell Center is just electric. And I honestly do think if Montreal does make the playoffs, them along with Ottawa, but they do really good. And I know if Montreal were to make the playoffs, they would be facing the Capitals in the first round, and Ottawa would have to play Florida. So I think there'd be an upset between one of them. I either think Ottawa would knock out Florida, or I think that Montreal would knock out Washington. I think that's what would happen. But yeah, honestly, I don't really know how to answer. I'm gonna say sure. I do hope so. As a Leaf fan, I do hope the Habs make the playoffs. I do think they're gonna be an extremely dangerous team. Not a lot of experience. I know Nick Suzuki and Caulfield and Matheson and Gallagher have all been in the playoffs a couple times, but for a lot of the younger guys like Lane and Line, I know Line's been in there a bit. So you know what? There's 100% a chance, and there is a chance. You guys are in a spot right now, so I'm gonna say yeah. I do think I do think they'll hold their ground. They do have a lot of tough games coming up. I know they play Florida a couple more times. They play the Leafs, so a lot of challenging games, but they're a really competitive, strong, outgoing team. So you know what? I truly do hope so. Last one is what are your thoughts on this whole journey with the Between the Boards podcast? And is this something that you hope to be doing for years to come? Great question. And this is a more personal side of things, not so much an hockey one. I don't know if I don't honestly remember if I've told a lot of you on here this, but next year I'm going to the College of Sports and Media Broadcasting in Toronto. So it's going to be a cool experience. There's been a lot of people who work at Sportsnet that have went to the school. There's teachers, a lot of the teachers that work at Sportsnet, for example. If you look up Ivanka Osmak, she works at Sportsnet. If you go at nighttime and you watch everything after the Leaf game, she is going to be the one that's on there. So she's a teacher there. I think along with Ken Reed comes there sometimes. So it is something that I will 100% want to do for years to come. And I actually have talked to the president of the school, and he also said that you could film the podcast there, and he said encouraged me to bring the Between the Boards logo that I can hang up in there as well when I do the podcast, obviously. But so yeah, to answer that question, 100%. Obviously in the summer, it's something that will probably slow down just a bit, just because there's not a lot to talk about. It might be a once a week kind of thing to keep up with all the trades and all the moves that are going to happen, because it is going to happen in the summer. But yeah, 100%. It's something that I'm going to be doing as long as I can. It's something that I want to make a future out of, but I got to make the bread as well with it, right? If it's not making money, cut it. But yeah, it is something that it's not something that I do for fun, but it's something that I look forward to do every single day. And it's something that I'm really excited for, especially working with people who have been in the industry for a while. And yeah, I do really look forward to it. So I don't know if I've told you guys that yet, but yeah, it's pretty cool. So yeah, that's all we got for today, ladies and gentlemen. Again, like I said, not a lot, a little bit of a shorter episode today, only 22 minutes. So, but yeah, I do really appreciate. So many people were hitting me up saying, "Yo, when's the next podcast out? What's going on?" So I do appreciate that. And but yeah, we'll hopefully be back here. Today is Monday. Leafs play on Wednesday, so we might be back here. If not Wednesday, but if not Thursday, 100% Wednesday or Thursday, we'll be back here. So yeah, thank you guys all for tuning on in to episode 30 of the Between the Boards podcast. Because it was episode 30, next podcast will make it a little bit special, and it's going to be a lot better than this one. So yeah, thanks for tuning on in to episode 30 of the Between the Boards podcast. I'm your boy Hallsy. I hope everyone has a wonderful week. I know it's Monday, it sucks, but let's push through. Let's have a good week. And we'll be back here in a couple of days. So have a good night, and we'll see you later. Peace.